Bangin' on Wax is an album containing the redirected energies of members of the Bloods and the Crips, two violent rival Los Angeles gangs. The idea was to have the gang members deal with their differences verbally instead of physically.
A lot of them got have success.
Yeah, a lot of them got as a result of that record, though. On both
so
sides.
That record caused a lot of
girls, guys, yeah.
When Bangin' on Wax dropped in '93, it turned heads. Nobody expected Bloods and Crips to link up on a track, let alone a whole album. But one song that really had people talking was Piru Love, featuring a lineup of rising blood rappers.
The jungles of our port called Luda, on Rosecrans Pass, only
Fast forward to today, and some of them have pretty much vanished from the scene. Take Lil Leak, for example. Aside from his verse on the album, there's barely any trace of him, and he never really blew up. Same with Bloody Mary, one with that distinctive voice, who seemed to also disappear just as quickly.
Can't trip with a Compton nut, kicking with my all black chuck. We don't need show us.
Then you had Red Rum 781, who never quite broke into the mainstream either, but left a mark.
That Rum was a big brother to me, man. And he represented me until he died, man. Straight up. When he got his old page, took it, he called me mad about it. He got his new page, I posted up, said go follow my Rum.
So what really happened to them? Let's break it down. When NWA blew up in the late 80s and early 90s, not everyone was cheering, especially in the gang community. A lot of gang members felt like the group was making money off a lifestyle they hadn't really lived, and that frustration led to something unexpected: Banging on Wax. But this wasn't just another rap album. This was Bloods and Crips, real rivals, coming together to make music and set their differences aside, even if just for a moment. The idea came from two key figures: OIG Red Rum 781, a Blood, and Tweety Bird Locke, a Crip. Red Rum met Tweety and producer Robert Lewis at a rap competition where he placed third out of 200 contestants. That meeting sparked something big. Red Rum and Tweety came up with the concept, pitched it to Robert Lewis, and soon it landed in the hands of producer Ronnie Phillips, who saw the vision immediately.
That's how I met Tweety Bird and Robert Lewis. So we went, started doing some music. Me and Tweety Bird came up with the concept of Banging on Wax. Me and Tweety Bird took it to Robert Lewis. He took the idea to Ronnie Phillips, and then that's when the album was made, that's when history was made.
The plan was simple but ambitious. Bring real gang members from Compton, Watts, Long Beach, Inglewood, and LA into a studio, audition them, and put the best ones on the album. In the end, 16 gang members put their weapons down and picked up the mic, turning their energy into something creative instead of destructive. Banging on Wax became more than an album. It was an outlet for anger, frustration, and raw talent. But for those involved, it wasn't just about making music. They wanted to prove they could come together, show their skills, and move beyond street violence. As they put it, they had more to offer than just pulling triggers or hustling D's.
We're trying to show them that we can come together, make a record, and show positive issues, and at the same time prove that we have talents other than just pulling triggers.
Ronnie Phillips saw something bigger. "I don't see Bloods and Crips, I see my brothers," he said. His belief was simple: if you could get them to stop fighting and show them how to make real money through music, you could change lives.
Once we understood that, we started a relationship. And once you start a relationship, then you can work together. Then you become business partners. Then you can grow, become producers, actors, whatever. Because there's a lot of talent in the streets and people overlook that.
He also hoped to inspire younger generations, encouraging them to pick up a pen and write instead of settling beef with guns.
The ones I'm really worried about is the BJs, the baby gangsters. And once they realize, hey man, instead of me picking up my 9 to shoot you, I'd rather pick up an 8 pen and write a diss rhyme. You know, that's basically what it's all about.
Of course, getting Bloods and Crips in the same studio wasn't easy. At first, some of them didn't even want to be in the same room, but over time, they made it work. The result? An album that was raw, unfiltered, and straight up aggressive, but in a way that turned street battles into lyrical ones. They took shots at each other on the tracks, but they all agreed that rapping out their frustrations was a much better way to handle things.
I mean, there was a little confrontations, but when everybody understood, hey man, we're here to make records, we're not here to fight each other, we're here to make records, it was cool.
The goal was clear: keep the fights on wax, make an honest living, and show the world that even the most notorious rivals could come together for something bigger than their beef. When Bangin' on Wax hit the streets in 1993, it wasn't just another rap album. It was a full-blown cultural moment. Against all odds, it climbed to number 86 on the Billboard 200 and went gold, proving that music could bridge even the deepest divides. With hard-hitting tracks like Bangin' on Wax, Piru Love, Crip Crip Crip, and Steady Dippin', the album became an instant classic. The music videos for Bangin' on Wax, Piru Love, and Steady Dippin' only added to its impact, bringing the raw energy of the streets straight to the screen. One of the standout moments was Piru Love, a blood anthem with a surprisingly smooth hook sung by Folklip's Eclipse, a Crip. The track sampled Computer Love by Zapp and Roger, blending melody with hardcore street storytelling. It caught the attention of Suge Knight, who was so impressed he signed Bloody Mary to Death Row Records in 1994. Even mainstream media took notice. The Chicago Tribune and Los Angeles Times recognized Piru Love as one of the best songs to reference Rosecrans Avenue, a street deeply tied to LA's gang culture. Then there was Steady Dippin', repping the Crips, performed by Underworld Connection, featuring Do or Die, A-Love, Miss C-Note, Danny Girl, Sinlock, and Blue Rag, the General. The music video even had a cameo from DJ Battlecat, adding some legendary West Coast credibility. With all that hype and success surrounding the first album, a follow-up wasn't just possible, it was pretty much guaranteed. So in 1994, Bangin' on Wax 2, the saga continues hit the streets, and while it didn't quite shake things up like the original, it still held its own, landing at number 139 on the Billboard 200 and climbing to number 20 on the R&B/hip-hop albums chart. Even though it didn't have the same impact, it kept the movement going strong. It gave fans hard-hitting tracks like G's and Locks and Wish You Were Here, both of which got the music video treatment to keep the energy alive. Fast forward a whole decade and Bangin' on Wax. Part 3, No Passes was finally recorded in 2004, but for whatever reason it didn't see the light of day until 2014, by which time everything had changed. A lot of the original artists had moved on, the scene itself had shifted, and to make things even heavier, producer Ronnie Phillips had passed away in 2003, officially closing a chapter of the movement's history. Still, even with the delay, the album served as a reminder of just how influential the whole Bangin' on Wax era had been, even as the blurred lines between music and real-life gang politics became harder and harder to ignore. Once that chapter ended, both sides went their own way musically, but they didn't stop. The Crips put together nationwide Rip Raiders, dropping albums in 1995 and 1999, while the Bloods answered with Damu Ridas, releasing projects in those same years. Both groups stuck to the raw, unfiltered, street-heavy storytelling that made Bangin' on Wax so real in the first place. No sugarcoating, no radio-friendly edits, just the reality of their world set to a beat. But as real as the music was, the dangers were just as real. While many members of nationwide Rip Raiders are still around today, the group's history came with a heavy cost. At least 5 members lost their lives, proving just how dangerous it was to mix music with actual gang beefs. And in the 90s, one of the deadliest decades for gang-related violence, those diss tracks weren't just words on a song. They could turn into something much more serious in real life. Even BG Knockout, who made a name for himself alongside Eazy-E on Real G's, saw the writing on the wall. He had the chance to be part of the original Bangin' on Wax project but turned it down, realizing that openly dissing rivals in the middle of all that tension was basically asking for trouble, or worse. And unfortunately, his concerns weren't just paranoia. For some artists involved in the movement, those beefs turned deadly.
This is what they tried to do with me before I met Eazy, the Bangin' on Wax thing, you remember that?
Right.
The Crips and Bloods. Well, I was approached from them people at first to do that before I met Eazy. This is the idea that we have, and they presented that idea to me, and I was dead not with it. I was 100% against that. I was like, nah. Because I knew, like, because the things they wanted me to do, they wanted me to diss my enemies. What you people trying to do here? Like that's crazy. I wouldn't even be able to live if I came out with some music like that. You know what I mean? A lot of them got as a result of that record, though. On both sides.
So that record caused a lot of
girls, guys, yeah.
One of the biggest tragedies was the loss of Bloody Mary. Born Tanisha Michelle Morgan on January 21, 1970, she had roots in Steubenville, Ohio. But when she moved to Compton, California, everything changed. The streets were different, the energy was different, and she had to adapt fast. She ended up deeply connected to several Blood and Piru sets, and it wasn't long before she caught the attention of Tweety Bird Locke, who then introduced her to Ronnie Ron, the mastermind behind Dangerous Records. What set Bloody Mary apart wasn't just her talent, it was that voice. It was deep, powerful, and full of raw energy, so much so that people who heard her rap for the first time often assumed she was a guy.
They couldn't cross Atlantic off of Bunker Boulevard. Every town has a Elm Street, but not a Freddy Krueger.
She was the only female representing the Bloods on Bangin' on Wax, but she made her presence felt in a huge way, delivering unforgettable verses on tracks like Piru Love, R.I.P. a Crab in Half, No Way Out, and CK Ride.
Damn, the fools outside. We serve.
She wasn't just part of the movement, she was a force within it. In 1994, she stepped out on her own, dropping her debut album She's Dangerous under the name Nene X. But industry politics got in the way, and after some business disputes, she cut ties with Dangerous Records and the Bangin' on Wax collective, determined to do her own thing. She even found herself in a brief rap beef with Miami's Uncle Luke, clapping back with a diss track called F-Deck Luke, where she linked up with other Bangin' on Wax veterans like Red Rum, Tweety Bird Locke, and AWOL from Kelly Park Compton Crips.
Luke, a man, no, he wish he could be the made nigga with a.
Over the years, Bloody Mary stayed in the mix, linking up with DJ King Assassin and appearing on his compilation albums. Then in 2003, Dangerous Records released The Resurrection, a collection of her old and previously unheard tracks, keeping her name alive in the underground. Eventually, she even ended up signing with Death Row Records under Suge Knight, setting herself up for what could have been a major move in her career. But then, tragedy hit in 2006. On November 19th, while riding her motorcycle, she was caught in the middle of a high-speed police chase, completely by accident. A truck trying to escape from the cops crashed straight into her bike, leaving her brain dead. Soon after, she passed away, gone way too soon. Even though her career was cut short, Bloody Mary's legacy is cemented in history. She wasn't just a rapper, she was part of a movement that changed how gang-affiliated artists represented their reality in music. Bangin' on Wax wasn't just an album series. It was a blueprint for a whole new style of street rap that would go on to shape the culture for years. And even though she didn't get to release a massive discography, her voice, her impact, and her story will never be forgotten. And then there was Faux Clips, real name Elijah B. Salim, born on September 17, 1973. His talent eventually took him to places most street rappers could only dream of. During the early 90s, he found himself in the studio with Tupac Shakur, laying down verses with one of the most legendary rappers of all time. Around 1993 to 94, he signed with Death Row Records, the powerhouse label that had already built a roster of West Coast icons like Pac, Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, and DJ Quick. Working under Suge Knight's infamous leadership, Red Rum had the chance to collaborate with some of the biggest names in the game, sharpening his skills alongside rap royalty. Even after his time at Death Row, he stayed active in the music scene, sharing stages with legends like Ice-T, and working with well-known West Coast artists like Cam, Nooney, Big Y, and countless others. His impact stretched far beyond Bangin' on Wax. He was part of the movement that helped shape West Coast gangsta rap as we know it. But in the end, it wasn't the streets that took him. It was something far more relentless. On October 30th, 2021, at the age of 49, Red Rum 781 lost his battle with bone cancer.
Got some sad news for y'all. OYG Red Rum 781, a legend in West Coast gangster rap, has died following a battle with bone cancer.
Another pioneer gone, another chapter closed. But his influence still echoes through the music, the culture, and the countless artists who followed in his footsteps.
That Rum was a big brother to me, man, and he represented me until he died, man. Straight up. When he got his old page, took it, he called me mad about it. He got his new page, I posted up, said go follow my Rum.
And finally, there was Lil Leak, or CK as he was known on the streets, real name James Carter. Unlike many of his peers, he's not dead, but he's also nowhere to be found, which in itself has only added to the mystery surrounding his name. Lil Leak came up in the same world as his older brother, Red Rum 781, both of them representing the west side of Inglewood, California, and both affiliated with the Avenue Piru Bloods. It was only natural that he would follow in his brother's footsteps.
Get into that. So first off, I'm from Inglewood, the city of Inglewood, if you don't know, from Avenue Piru, APG, and we located on Crenshaw, between the 109th, 104th, and 108th. We got different blocks, you know. Like my brother came out with a thing because like all my homies was banging, you know what I'm saying, they'll be block tripping, you know what I'm saying?
Oh,
we
let's
from the
remind
nine,
everybody,
we
your
from the
brother
eight.
is the late, great Red Rum.
By the early 90s, he was right there in the mix, making his debut on Bangin' on Wax in 1993, with Red Rum being one of the co-founders of the Bloods and Crips project, alongside Tweety Bird Locke and Ronnie Phillips of Dangerous Records. Lil Leak had a front row seat to one of the most groundbreaking moments in gangsta rap history. But it wasn't just about family ties. He built strong bonds with others in the group, especially Bloody Mary, who was also from Avenue Piru. The two were close, and their connection was evident in the music they made together. Lil Leak's presence could be heard on several tracks from the Bangin' on Wax album, including Due to Be Dog and CK Ride. His first real moment in the spotlight came when he appeared in the Piru Love music video alongside Bloody Mary, Lil Stretch, and his brother Red Rum 781, a moment that cemented him as part of the movement. But things didn't stay peaceful for long. As Bangin' on Wax and its follow-ups gained traction, the controversy around it only grew, and some gang members weren't too happy about Bloods and Crips collaborating, no matter how real the music was. At the height of the group's success, they found themselves beefing with the Rolling 30s Harlem Crips, and one Crip in particular. Low Key Loco was especially vocal about his disapproval. He went as far as to drop a diss track called Busters on Wax, taking direct shots at the entire Bloods and Crips movement, accusing them of selling out by working with their enemies.
Putting that infrared dot through the middle of the forehead, stepping out the seat up to the max, new shirt, new belt.
Lil Leak wasn't one to stay quiet. He fired back with his own shots, most notably on CK Ride, where he dedicated an entire verse to tearing down Low Key Loco and his crew, Knots, Nation of True Soldiers, with some particularly cutting lines. One that stood out was, I saw you wearing your dirty clothes to match your dirty hood. Dirty being a disrespectful reference to the Rolling 30s Harlem Crips.
Man, you a joke, so let me laugh. You're sounding like the with your non-rapping ass. I saw you wearing your dirty.
Despite the tension, Lil Leak kept making music, and in 2006 he appeared on Repossessed What It Do, a compilation album produced by Reputable Records. The project was unique in that it brought together Bloods and Crips from different regions of Southern California, featuring artists like Bronco from Nutty Block Compton Crips, Matthews and Keystone from West Franklin Crips, and Gene and June Dog from Denver Lane Bloods. It was another attempt to showcase talent beyond the gang lines, proving that even in the middle of all the chaos, music could still bring people together. And then, just like that, Lil Leak vanished. No public records, no new music, no sightings, nothing. While many of his fellow Bangin' on Wax artists met tragic fates, his disappearance remains a mystery. Whether he stepped away from the streets, changed his identity, or simply decided to live his life out of the public eye, nobody really knows. But one thing is for sure, his name, his music, and his role in that era of gangsta rap won't be forgotten anytime soon.